The Angels make a blockbuster trade on Tuesday night and acquire right-handed pitching starter Grayson Rodriguez from the Baltimore Orioles for Taylor Ward. It's a big swing for the Halos and the starting rotation, but there are some concerns.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. And it's because we've got breaking news and really good news. The Angels are getting a potential frontline starter in Grayson Rodriguez, but he does come with some risks. And how does this solve some of the Angels' pitching issues? And what does Rodriguez bring to the table when he's on the mound? Plus, we're going to talk about what the baseball world is talking about as they talk about this trade. Before we get there, we want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Hey, we're going live because we got some breaking news on Tuesday night. So if you're watching this on Wednesday, well, hopefully you catch up with us. But we've got 162 tuned in with us right now, Mike. That's fantastic. Hey, let's get right into it. Of course, we're talking Angels baseball with you Monday through Friday. And in a special breaking news edition of Locked On Angels, Taylor Ward was traded to the Baltimore Orioles, or the Baltimore Orioles, just trying to save time, for Grayson Rodriguez. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's time to say goodbye to longtime Halo and fan favorite who came up in Taylor Ward with the Halos. He was drafted in the first round in 2015, and he really found it, Jon, over the last 4 years. Had 1 year left on his contract, and the Angels traded him for 4 years, controllable years, for a 26-year-old starter. He's going to be a free agent after the 2029 season. Jon, let's start by talking about Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, he was a first-round pick of the Orioles in 2018, debuted in 2023. He pitched 2 seasons in the majors, Mike, 2023 and 2024. He was injured in 2025, sat out the whole season. In fact, he hasn't pitched in the majors since July 31st, 2024. Had a triceps injury, and then he also had some cleanup on his elbow, bone spurs, that sort of thing. So health is definitely a concern, but like you said, Rodriguez is controllable for 4 more seasons, and again, just 26 years old. So even if he has some issues in 2026, we've got him for longer than that. Let's start with what Rodriguez has done in 2 seasons with the Orioles. In 2024 or 2023, he was 7-4 with a 4.35 ERA in 23 starts. Then in 2024, he got better, 13-4 with a 3.86 ERA across 20 starts.
Yeah, but what we need to talk about is something that we've been discussing on the show for a bit. This team has needed 2 things in the starting rotation specifically for a really long time, and that is they need to clean up the walks and they needed some strikeouts, right? And so for Rodriguez, across 23 and 24, he has a career 2.9 walks per 9, and his walk rate, Jon, is 7.8%, above league average. And then let's talk about strikeouts. 2023 and 2024, 9.8 Ks per 9, and a 25.7% K rate. Again, above league average. My favorite stat, WHIP, 1.291 across those 2 seasons. And then your favorite stat, FIP, this is key, Jon, this is what he can control, right? 3.80 in his 2 seasons. So Rodriguez is not putting a bunch of guys on base, which is something the Angels desperately need to work on in 2026, because run prevention is something that we've been preaching here on Locked On Angels all season long and in the offseason.
Yeah. Also, Rodriguez is still pre-arbitration, Mike, so he's not going to cost much at all. And Taylor Ward was estimated to get about $14 million in his last year of arbitration. So that clears up a lot of salary space. It clears up luxury tax space, which is huge, which means let's get Okamoto. Let's go. Let's get,
come on.
But Mike, all right. I just want to get your initial reaction. obviously, wow, we're up to 317 here watching live, and we're going to get to some of your comments too. But what's your initial reaction? What are we gaining? What are we losing, Mike?
John, what we're gaining is a potential ace. I know that he's not an ace. I know that he has some work to do, but he is somebody who has shown the ability to be a guy that can lead the rotation. We are gaining a guy who's going to be working with the best pitching coach in all the league in Mike Maddux, and somebody who there's been some concerns about his arm. There have been some concerns about his windup, and Mike Maddux is going to work with him. John, I think we're gaining somebody that in a year, in 2 years, depending on how quick he can bounce back after missing last year, I think he could be somebody that could lead this rotation and somebody that we could really count on. He may not be a guy that's going to have 200 plus innings, but he might be able to land within that 150 to 170 mark if he stays healthy. That's going to be the big question. So what are we losing? Let me just talk about that. Like, we could be potentially losing a really good bat and then somebody who has really struggled to stay healthy. I went on the Baltimore Orioles talking points and went on Twitter and I went on Reddit and wanted to see what they were saying. And there was a mixed reaction to this. A lot of them were saying, hey, we're giving up a guy who hasn't really been in there, but when he's been in there, he's been really good. And so maybe 26 years old, he's working through the issues, had surgery. All indications are he's going to be ready for spring training. John, I think that we're gaining a really good pitcher, but I also think that we are losing a Taylor Ward who is in there every single day, and we're getting a guy that we just don't know if he's going to make 30 starts in a season. And if he's going to be an ace, that's one of the things that he's going to have to do on a regular basis. He's going to have to be in there every fifth day.
Yeah, one of my concerns is the amount of innings he's reached in his career, not as high as you would like it to be. But again, Mike, he's young. He's 26 years old. He's controllable for 4 more years. And to get what we've been wanting out of a trade for Taylor Ward, who, again, just has 1 year left on his contract. So he wasn't going to be an Angel at the end of this season. And for a lot of people who in the chat here saying, next year is going to be a nothing year. I mean, that's great because if you go beyond, look, the foresight here that you have Grayson Rodriguez for 4 more years, I think is huge because even if there are some health issues, even if he doesn't quite touch the miles per hour that he did on his fastball, get him under Mike Maddux, get him here to learn from Mike Maddux, get him healthy this season, let him work it out, take it slow with Grayson Rodriguez. I'm looking at the chat here and I got to find, let's see where to go, man. There's a lot going on in the chat here, but I'm looking for somebody who said Trout in left, sign Bellinger and keep Joe Adell in right. So I'm like, yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
When it comes to this starting rotation, we've got Yusei Kikuchi, Grayson Rodriguez, Reed Detmers, and Jose Soriano. It's a good start, Mike. 4 guys right there. I mean, it's a, like Scott's saying here, it's a good risk for Anaheim, a number 1 possible pitcher for multiple years for 1 year of Ward. Love to see that. Yeah. And I like the way that this rotation is looking now. And credit to the Angels and Perry Minasian for having some foresight to get somebody that's not just a 1 year deal. Sure. And it's not a Kyle Hendricks, not a Tyler Anderson, that sort of thing. Right?
That's huge. You're getting 4 years of control, and he's not even going to be a costly pitcher for you this season. Arbitration starts next year for him, and you have him until after the 2029 season. This is a great move by Perry Minasian, an A+ move by Perry Minasian. And here's why. Because he finally did what we've been asking for, John. He finally traded somebody who was going to not be on this team after this year. Yeah. He finally made that decision. And that's the thing that the Angels just haven't done. I know that there's a lot of conversation about what they could have got for Taylor Ward at the trade deadline. They probably wouldn't have got Grayson Rodriguez because he wasn't hurt at that point, and the Orioles may have not wanted to surrender him at that point. I think right now this is the best that we can get for somebody like Grayson Rodriguez. I really like this move, and I really like that Perry Minasian prioritized getting rid of somebody who is not going to be here. His contract's going to end up at the end of the year. So this was a really good move, A+ by Perry Minasian.
Cast member Adventure says, we need pitching. Gets pitching. Not that pitcher.
That's
Isn't that
always
the
case?
That's
always
the story of the Angels.
Everybody's going to throw a fit because they're going to look at like he was injured, and I get that. And you're right that injury is concerning. He looks like he's going to be okay. Young pitcher who pitched a lot, and we don't have to deal with this. He is coming to the Angels. 4 years with the Angels, and this year will be, I think, a bounce back year with Mike Maddux, working on how he winds up, working on how he's throwing. John, one of the stats that I loved about Grayson Rodriguez was a stat that you've brought to our attention on Locked On Angels. Extension. He is reaching out, and that's why he gets the break on his pitches. That's why he hits his spots. He's got all of the indicators that fans would want in a pitcher. The reason why fans are irritated, if they're irritated, is because of the injury issue. And I mean, let's be honest, it is Taylor Ward, right? Taylor Ward is somebody who's a great guy. We love him, and we've appreciated the offense that he brought. But what you're giving up in Taylor Ward, I think you're gaining more on the pitching side, because fans, everydayers, the issue was not scoring runs. The issue was run prevention. And that's what they have with someone in Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, you trade the consistency of Taylor Ward playing nearly every game for Grayson Rodriguez, who's got some question marks. And honestly, I think those are valid concerns as we move into the next season. But again, just to reiterate, what the Angels struggle with is run prevention. Remember, 28th or worse in walks per nine, walks per nine, whip, putting guys on base. This is a direct attack at lowering that number in 2026. And so I think this is significant for sure.
Our general manager, who has said all of the right things, but then there's never like movement to do the right things, right? It's bargain bin shopping, those types of things. This is not a bargain bin decision. This is we need run prevention, not just from the bullpen, but in our starting rotation. And now you have 4 quality guys that are not like, well, if they can kind of figure it out, it'll be okay. You have 4 quality guys that you can count on being in there every single day. Remember, this is the same rotation. 2 of the guys in there right now that were a part of five guys that were regularly going out there, and all indications are that this will continue with these guys. Now, yes, injury history, there's a question. Reed Detmers, there's a question. But you have 4 really quality starters here that will, if they're on their A game, will prevent runs and really help our team find victories.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people asking, all right, who replaces Ward? Maybe this opens up a signing like Bellinger. I mean, I would fall out of my chair if it was Kyle Tucker, right? That sort of thing. But Mike, maybe this opens up, and we're seeing lots of comments here about Nelson Rada. Maybe he makes it out of camp. I hope this isn't true. I see Henry's comment here on Taylor Ward Lover's birthday too. I hope that's not really true. Birthday? That it got on his birthday.
Sorry, bud.
That's so funny.
That's funny.
All right, we're going to continue our conversation here on Locked On Angels, but we thank you for making it your first listen of the day. And tonight, Tuesday night, we're live. We're having fun. 450 in the chat watching live. This is fantastic. So as we continue our conversation, what does Rodriguez bring to the table? We're going to get into that conversation coming right up.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It just keeps every game really exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers like you $300 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up today, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, the #1 sports podcast network out there. And it's thanks to everydayers like you who are making it happen. Again, 448 in the chat and watching live is fantastic. Mike, a lot of people are saying, bring in Gavin because he was so big on trading Taylor Ward, as we were. I did reach out to Gavin. He was currently driving back home, so unfortunately he wasn't able to be with us. But I did say,
the off season off.
Yeah, send me a reaction, because I'm sure everybody would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So we discussed the value that Grayson Rodriguez adds to the rotation in terms of run prevention, but what kind of arsenal does he bring to the table? Well, in 2024, Mike, he threw a fastball, a changeup, a slider, and a curveball. The fastball sits about 96, 97. It can touch 100. I imagine that might change considering the elbow issues and the arm stuff, right? Now, what I do like is that in 2024, his changeup had a 34.8% whiff rate and a 161 batting average against. And then his slider, he got guys to swing and miss 36.1% of the time. Now, in 2024, he ranked in the 82nd percentile in whiff rate at 30%, 75th percentile strikeout rate at 26.5%, and the 72nd percentile in chase rate at 30.5%.
There are some concerns, John. He did get hit hard at times. The barrel rate was 7.8%. And while the hard hit rate was 39.7%, he did have a 40.6% ground ball rate in 2024. His average exit velo sat around 89.2 miles an hour. All of those are about middle of the road for all of the pitchers in 2024. Both years, though, he had a lower expected ERA versus his real ERA. So there is some room for positive regression.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get real nerdy here. Buckle up, nerds. I want to talk about Stuff Plus. This is a FanGraph stat that puts individual pitches on a scale, kind of like WRC Plus, OPS Plus, where 100 is average. Mike, his fastball sits at 105 Stuff Plus. The slider was 108. The curveball was 97, a little bit below average. And the changeup, 122 in 2024. Altogether, that adds up to a 108 Stuff Plus for his repertoire the last time he pitched. Mike, you're going to like this one. In 2024, his location plus was 106, above average. So that's good news for an Angels team that needs to know how to locate pitches and get strike one and then attack the zone. So we've talked about his pitch arsenal. We talked about what he was able to do. Does that change with the injury history, considering he sat out all last year? And what about Mike Maddux? What about the Maddox factor to all of this?
I think with Grayson, I think that we're going to see his fastball have a bit, maybe a couple ticks slower than where it was, at least when he's coming back at the start of the season. I don't know if he's going to try to shoot for 100, but it's the same thing with Ben Joyce. Bro, don't need to go there unless you really, really, really need to, right? Yeah. And he got a lot of whiffs on his fastball. So if he can land in the 96 to 98 where he was, that's good news because it'll help offset his off-speed stuff. I think someone like Mike Maddux is going to be able to recognize what works for him and what doesn't. They might be able to clean up some of the arm action. That's always been the concern and why he had some issues in the tricep and in the elbow. And it's why he had his miles per hour tick a little bit lower in his last season, because he did end up going on the IL, and then he ended up having surgery and missing the whole year. So that's why his miles per hour were lower. The injury history is always going to be a question, but with any pitcher, really, it's always going to be a question. What Mike Maddux can do with this guy, I'm really looking forward to. What he can teach this guy, I'm really looking forward to. John, he's still a young guy. He's Reed Detmer's age. He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
And you've got two really good pitchers. And we talked about Reed yesterday. Two really good pitchers that when they're striking guys out and when they're hitting their spots, they're really dominant on the mound. Yeah. Reed Detmers has struggled with hitting his spots. That's why he really struggled as a starter and was moved to the bullpen. It was his home runs per 9 that were really high. In the seasons that they were low is when he was successful, 2022 and 2025. When you look at Grayson Rodriguez, the numbers don't lie. The numbers line up that same way. When he's striking guys out and he's hitting his spots and not giving up home runs, he's really dominant on the mound. And I think that's the guy, the young man that we're going to be able to see take the lead in this starting rotation this season and for the next few seasons.
It's funny hearing the name Grayson. Does that just make you feel old? Because that feels like a newer name from like the 2000s. I feel like I've known a lot of Graysons that are like, your kids' friends, right?
Yeah.
So, we got a great.
When I hear 26 years old, I'm like, I could be his dad.
Jesse C has a great question in the chat. Do you guys still like Mitch Keller as an option? I think that's a great question because, Mike, with somebody like Rodriguez and Detmers and Jose Soriano, who obviously hit the most innings pitched he's had in his career this past season because he pitched for pretty much the whole year. Really, Yusei Kikuchi is the only one in this rotation who has hit near 180 innings.
Yeah.
And so part of the reason why I brought up Mitch Keller for my GM episode was the fact that you can count on him to hit 180 innings and be that bulk guy. Even if he's number 5 in probably he would be number 5 in this rotation if the Angels got him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guy who can give you a lot of good innings and give you an ERA of about 4 over the course of a season. And so that's really one of my concerns here is just how many innings are the Angels going to get out of this rotation. So that's going to be a very significant part of this deal.
I think that what we have to, and I'm looking at some of the names that people have brought up, I think what we have to think through now is we have the conversation like, how are they going to improve this team? Well, it's going to have to happen through trade. Well, they traded maybe their best piece to get this pitcher. I think from now on, how they're going to add to this team is going to be some of your middle of the road C+, B- signings. Tyler Mahle could be the 5th starter that fits perfectly in with this rotation. I see Michael King that people have mentioned. I see Framber that people have mentioned. Remember, Michael King has a qualifying offer connected to him, and that means we lose a draft pick. I don't think the Angels are going to want to do that. And I saw Jared Tim say recently that you don't want to do that because this draft that's coming up in June is one of the better drafts than we've had in the last couple of years, that you're going to get a good guy at where the Angels might land at like 10 or so. And they're going to be a guy that maybe could potentially be drafted in the top 10, but they got skipped over. So the Angels could get somebody really well. Also, doesn't matter where the Angels are. They're always going to do that unique thing, like get a Tyler Bremner at number 2, right? Which wasn't a bad pick. It was just a surprise pick.
Right.
And so you don't want to lose that. So I think that it's going to be somebody like a Tyler Mahle or somebody that isn't going to cost them a qualifying offer so that they can fill out this rotation.
Eric's VHS on the live here said, are they getting a new medical staff too? What's funny is, yes, they did hire some new people for the training staff and the medical staff. So way to nail that one, Eric. Mike, Chris Luna says, what about Dylan Cease? What do you think?
Dylan Cease is going to cost a lot. That's the big thing. Like, he's going to cost a lot. And I don't know if the Angels are going to be willing to pay for multiple years for somebody like that. Not until next year. And there's a lot of money coming off the books next year. Rendon's coming off, Soler's coming off. So there's a lot of different players that they're not going to have on this team anymore. And they're big money players. So I don't think they're going to give that big money. I think if they do anything, it's going to be maybe signing those mediocre guys. If they make any more trades, John, I think that this is who they're going to go after. They're going to get controllable pieces. They're going to have to give up some big pieces. At this point, the other piece that I would say that they would have to give up, and I hate to say it out loud, but he's been in trade rumors, and that's Joe Adell. But it wouldn't make sense for a team that maybe is going to try to compete in 2026 to get rid of a guy who has 2 more years of control, who's coming off a career year, and could possibly be an anchor in this lineup because you just got rid of 30-plus home runs and 100 RBIs. You're going to need some offense here, and Joe Adell is going to provide that for you.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of questions, and we're going to get to it here in the next segment. But why do the Orioles do this? And are there concerns around Grayson Rodriguez? We're going to talk about all of that coming right up.
John, the first thing I did was I did a search on social media just to see what all the big money baseball people are saying, right?
yeah.
Like I wanted to hear what they had to say, to see what the conversation was. Because we can go and see what the fans have to say. That's really important. What the Orioles fans, Angel fans have to say. But I love the quote unquote experts and love what they share. And so why don't you get us started with a couple of thoughts?
Yeah, Pitch Profiler, who kind of does his own stuff plus, like we talked about earlier. He said, if Grayson Rodriguez can get back to this, and he displayed all of the plus stuff that he had, according to the numbers, what a trade the Angels just pulled off. And then our friend over at Locked On Red Sox, Gabby Maljanian, she said, so do the Orioles know what they're doing? I thought that one was pretty funny.
Yeah, that one really is funny. Foolish Baseball said this: I think Taylor Ward is maybe the most underrated player in baseball in terms of guys who have been good for a while now. Most quote unquote underrated picks are guys who broke out recently. To be underrated with 4 years of solid production is harder to do, but Taylor Ward does it. I don't disagree with that, but here's what's frustrating, John. We trade a guy and then suddenly people are like, that guy's really good. But there's no conversation about him on the Angels. There's no acknowledgement that he was talented on the Angels. There's no acknowledgement that he really has had 4 solid years in left field in Anaheim. I get that they haven't won, but there's no acknowledgement for that outside of now he's on another team. Okay, now we can high five it and acknowledge it.
The one thing I will say about Foolish Baseball is he has given Taylor Ward his flowers in the past. And it's funny because he's right. Like 4 years of solid production, not being the top, everybody's top target and not talked about a lot. Mike, his 4 years of really good Taylor Ward have all been very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, I think his best season was going to be 2022 until he ran into the wall. 2023, he was busting out. It took about halfway through the season, then he got hit in the face. 2024, 2025, right? So the guy, I got to give him credit. The guy plays hard. He's running into walls. He's, took the corner of that wall at the juice box in Houston to his face and played, shortly thereafter. So I really like that as well. Chris Luna, great comment here. The only pitchers aged 24 or younger with 10 plus Ks per 9 and a sub 4 ERA in a season since 2022 with a minimum of 110 pitches. Paul Skeens, Hunter Green, Grayson Rodriguez, and Spencer Strider.
Chris, doing our producer work there.
I know. Chris, we need you to be our producer because it'll save Mike and I a lot of time. What about Jack Janes of the Sporting Tribune? He covers the Angels for the Sporting Tribune. He said, will be interesting to see where Grayson Rodriguez's fastball velocity is when he comes back. He lost almost 2 full miles per hour from 2023 to 2024 because of the bone chips. Also in the arsenal is excellent changeup and a slider that produced a 36.1% whiff rate, but a .563 slugging percentage. Goes back to what we were saying, Mike, that at times Grayson Rodriguez can be hit hard, right?
Yeah, he can. And that slugging percentage is concerning, and so we'll have to watch that this year. If he hits his locations, that could potentially tick down a bit. Now, our buddy Michael Huntley watches the show, part of the show. He's also a contributor to the OC Register and the Sporting Tribune. He said if Rodriguez can stay healthy, which is huge, it's a huge if, then it's an obvious win for the Angels. He also added that he has serious doubts about his mechanics, which cause a lot of arm issues. He's also not thrown over 122 innings before, but legit ace when healthy. Love what he shared with us there.
Yeah, Andres Jimenez, an everydayer that is often in our comments, and of course we encourage you guys to jump in the comments section to continue the conversation, said, is this better than trading for Brady Singer? I would say yes. I would also say yes, Mike, simply because I was talking to Locked On Reds, Jeff Carr, earlier today, and we both agreed that a 1-for-1 swap would get it done. In fact, I forget which part of baseball Twitter I was on today, and I think people were talking about Taylor Ward and what it would take to get him. And again, I go back to, we sit here and we kind of poo-poo what we have. And I look around at other baseball teams, fans, and they're like, yeah, I'm all about it. So in terms of Taylor Ward going 1-for-1 for Brady Singer, Jeff said yes. Jeff said that would probably be realistic. Obviously, it's not going to happen now, but I would say that this is a better trade than Brady Singer because it helps us out beyond this year, right?
Yeah. And I love the years. I love the control that we have over a really young pitcher and somebody that we're going to have in our starting rotation for the next 4 years. John, that does bring up a concern because of issues and arm issues and things of that nature. Are you concerned that Baltimore, quote unquote, gave up on Rodriguez, or do you think that they have some sort of strategy in mind?
Yeah. And that relates to what Jeff Passan of ESPN said. He said Taylor Ward's a free agent after this season. Baltimore, which has been looking for pitching, gave up a 26-year-old Grayson Rodriguez, who isn't a free agent until 2029. He missed all of 2025 with arm issues, coming off an elbow cleanup. And so, yeah, I think that, when you trade with the Rays, you often say, why do the Rays want this guy, right? And they're going to be able to fix him and do whatever. In this situation, I don't know, Mike. It feels like Baltimore, I know that they have a need in Taylor Ward, but I think the sentiment is, what are they doing? Right. And that's not just baseball in general. It's Orioles fans too. Yeah. So I think I am concerned with what they have seen in Grayson Rodriguez. But again, what I buy into is the fact that we have him beyond this year. It's not as if this is a make or break year for Grayson Rodriguez.
Right.
He's cheap. It opens up salary. It opens up about $13 million predicted in salary for the Angels to spend elsewhere. I think they were starting this offseason with, what did I say, about $71 million before they hit the luxury tax threshold. And that included what Taylor Ward was potentially going to get. So again, you have him beyond this year. So even if this year sucks, we might be heading toward a lockout at the end of this season. And so you give it a shot. And if you're one of those people who says, let the kids play or let people develop or what have you, the Angels need to do this, the Angels need to do that. Well, this is something they needed to do. Yeah. They needed to get a starter who's got frontline potential. Mike, remember, he beat us in game 2 against the Orioles in Baltimore in 2024. Yeah. And he only started behind Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns was the ace of that staff. Grayson Rodriguez was number 2, and he kicked our butts, right? Yeah.
And he's a proven starter. I know he missed last year, but he's a proven starter. The difference between him and like a Caden Dana or him and a Sam Altaguiri is he's a proven starter. He was 13-4 the last time that he started a full season. That's good numbers, friends, and had a great ERA, great strikeout rate. It's a great move by the Halos. And it might be, this might not work, but run with me on this. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there because we're live. It might be like a Griffin Canning type of move for the Orioles that the Angels made last year. Griffin Canning was traded because we just couldn't do anything else with him, right? And we got Soler. We needed a bat. Then the Mets got him, and everybody announced that the Mets fixed him. He had a good year, and then he got hurt. I don't know if he's fixed. I don't know if he's better, but he was better than he had been.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because they had people to identify some things in the Mets organization to help him get better. Well, we've got Mike Maddux, and we've got a guy who's going to really, I think, help him improve. I'm putting a lot of weight on Mike Maddux, but I think he can handle it because he's got a proven track record. And the Orioles trading him away, it might be like, well, we can't really do anything else with this guy. Yeah. Now the Angels have an opportunity at a cheap cost to maybe get a potential ace and somebody who could lead this rotation for the next few years.
It's funny that you said Griffin Canning because I think Grayson beat Griffin Canning that day in game 2 of the 2024 season. So there you go. Again, if you're just tuning in, of course, you can catch the replay. But thank you to the almost 500 that are watching us right now. We couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you for being everydayers. And we really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Make sure that while you're here, you like and you subscribe because it's the best way to stay updated on all things Angels throughout the offseason.
Yeah, be sure you keep up with us at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Mike, we had a episode planned for Wednesday, so this will be our Wednesday show. What are we going to do when we come back on Thursday?
Yeah, well, if there's no breaking news, then we're going to talk about how the Halos only protected one of their top three prospects that were available in the Rule 5 draft. And tomorrow we're going to tell you why that was a really good decision. Join us on Locked On Angels.
All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
All right, for all you sickos, you 500 sickos, and of course our everydayers who love to watch and listen, we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Woo! Going live. It's good to see your comments. Thanks for being here, guys.